everyone, my name is Ravi Putra Pradipta with my NPM 22110111088, and right now I'm gonna explain about cross-culture material chapters 15 and 16. Okay, so the first one I'm gonna talk about chapter 15, negotiating internationally. Okay, before we moving to the material, here is the table of content about what we're gonna talk about in this presentation. So the first one is introduction, the second one is facet of negotiation, the third one is cross-cultural negotiation in practices, USA and China, the fourth one is when is Rome do as Romans do, and last one is study case.
Huh? Are you sure you're not interested? I bet $200 is only the asking price.
Sorry, Ned.
No, hey, I'm flexible. You don't have to pay all at once. I'll be here all night if you change your mind.
Hey, Flanders, is everything okay?
Oh, yeah, sure. Thought I'd just get rid of some of the clutter. See anything you like?
Oh, I get it. It's not good enough for you, but it's good enough for me. Well, I wouldn't be caught dead buying this. Hello.
Oh, I got your eye on the gas grill, huh? She's a butane butte.
I'll give you $20 for it.
20? Homer, I paid $300 for this just last year.
You were swindled, my friend. $20, take it or leave it.
Oh, Homer, be reasonable.
Sorry, no cash for Nettie. Homer, keep on money. Bye-bye, Nettie. Bye-bye.
All right, Homer.
$20?
$20.
No, I don't want it.
What?
I changed my mind. It was a passing fancy. Although, perhaps if you threw in a few lawn chairs, maybe that tool bench, it might rekindle my interest. Hey, Bartley Boobly, care for a steak-a-rooney?
Sounds scrumptious, dear old Dudley Dooley.
Dudley Doodly.
Homer, this is the Flanders' entire living room set. How much did you pay for this?
Only 75 beans?
$75? Ned must be desperate.
I'm sure you did nothing to discourage this, you scavenger of human misery.
Hey, keep your hands off my china hutch.
Okay, moving on into the introduction. So, in an increasingly globalized world, negotiating often extend across borders, bringing together people with different cultural backgrounds, expectations, and strategies. In chapter 15, this chapter explores the complexity of international negotiation and how cultural differences impact negotiation style, strategies, and outcomes. The chapter emphasizes that while Western cultures may approach negotiating and with problem-solving mindset, older cultures like Japanese or Chinese may prioritize harmony or long-term relationship building. Understanding these differences is essential for effective cross-cultural negotiation, allowing negotiators to bridge cultural gaps and reach successful agreements. Okay, the next one is the nature of negotiation. Negotiation in Western culture is often viewed as problem-solving processes where parties deliberately propose ideas and aim to reach a solution. Fisher research in 1980 highlights that much of the literature of negotiation focus on universal tactics and strategies, assuming participants share similar attitudes and principles. In this context, there is a research by Wheaton that describes two main negotiation strategies in Western culture. The first one is distributive and the second one is integrative. The distributive approach involves competing for a fixed resource, resulting in a win or lose outcome, while the integrative approach seeks collaboration for a win-win solution. However, in international negotiation, assumptions about shared motive and behaviors may not hold, as cultural differences come into play. For example, Fisher notes that in Japanese culture, negotiation is not about resolving conflict, though compromise, but reaching consensus behind the scenes, making formal meeting more ceremonial. Moving on to the second one, or the next material, is about facets of negotiation. There are three types of negotiation facet. The first one is behavioral predisposition. This includes interpersonal orientation like harmony versus self-interest, power orientation, for example, formal power versus informal influences, and a willingness to take risks or based on decision-making freedom and uncertainty tolerance. The second one is underlying concept. This is negotiating strategies that based on trust or mistrust, while the strategic time frame can be logical, finite process, or ongoing dialogue, allowing flexibility. And the third one is negotiation process. This is the style vary from focusing on specific goals to broader principle, and outcomes can range from strict binding deals to more flexible agreement. Moving on to the next material, it is about cross-cultural negotiation in practices in the US and China. Okay, we'll talk about three things here. The first one is behavioral predisposition. In the US, the legal goal of negotiation is the deal itself, while in China, it is about building a long-term relationship. Power structure are more clearer in the US teams, where the boss has decision-making power, while in Chinese teams they are rarely on consensus among various stakeholders, that often slowing the process and avoiding risk-taking until all parties are aligned. Second one is underlying concept of negotiation. The US use either a competitive or an integrative strategy that aiming for a definitive contract, while the Chinese approach is more fluid, that viewing negotiation as a part of relationship building, with the final deal to open to further adjustment. This is aligned with a more long-term, flexible outlook compared to the US. Then the third one is negotiating process. In the US, negotiators focus on specific details and expect a mutual exchange of information. However, Chinese negotiators often avoid disclosing information and prioritize trust and relationship over fact. Despite this, younger Chinese negotiators are becoming more comfortable with Western style of negotiating, suggesting some shift in approach. And the outcome orientation from this is that Americans are prefer to be more detailed, binding contract, emphasizing legal aspect and concern terms, while the Chinese, on the other hand, prefer shorter, more vague contract that signify commitment without finality, leaving room for further negotiation. Okay, the last material is when in Rome, do as the Romans do. This part discusses how negotiators should approach international negotiation, questioning the widely accepted idea of fully adapting to their other party culture, as suggested by the maxim, when in Rome, do as Romans do. It argues that this approach is oversimplified and raises several issues, such as the dominance of one culture in negotiation and the impossibility of fully assimilating into another culture. In 1994, Weiss proposed a more flexible framework which focused on negotiators using their own skill and adapting according to their level of familiarity with the counterpart culture. There are some key strategies according to Weiss framework. The first one is low familiarity. This is involved using a third party such as an agent or advisor to assist in negotiating or openly admitting ignorance of the older culture. Second one is moderate familiarity. Negotiators can either partially adapt by modifying their usual negotiating style or engage in a coordinated adjustment with other party where both sides agree on how to conduct the negotiating, possibly using a third language. And the last one is high familiarity. At this level, negotiators can improvise, allowing for a more flexible relationship-based process that can take into account both party skill and attributes. This could lead to a unique approach that transcends both home cultures. Weiss also suggests a step-by-step approach to selecting a negotiating strategies, which include reflecting on one's own culture, learning about the counterpart culture, considering the relationship and context, predicting the other party's approach, and choosing the strategy that fits both sides. Okay, moving on to the study case. So, in the study case is about Renault, Nissan, and Daimler AG alliance in 2010. The 2010 strategic cooperation between Renault, Nissan, and Daimler AG is notable example of international negotiation. This alliance required both sides to navigate complex cultural differences, as Renault Nissan represented a combination of French and Japanese businesses, which are typically hierarchy and emphasize consensus, while Daimler AG, a German company, values efficiency and direct communication. Language barriers were also present, with English serving as the primary negotiation language despite its being a second language for most participants. Trust building was essential, especially since the company intended to share valuable technological expertise. Additionally, both sides had to consider different legal and regulatory framework in France, Japan, and Germany, ensuring that the partnership adhered to all relevant intellectual property, tax, and labor law. The negotiations were further complicated by the differing strategic goals of the two companies, with Renault Nissan seeking access to Daimler premium technology, and Daimler looking for a cost-effective solution for a smaller car. In the end, the partnership succeeded due to flexibility, cultural awareness, and focus on shared long-term interests, leading to a joint venture in areas like engines, electric vehicles, and small cars. This case also highlights the importance of cultural sensitivity, clear communication, and strategic alignment in international negotiation. The 2010 alliance between Renault Nissan and Daimler AG highlight two critical aspects of the internal negotiation. The first one is cultural and communication differences. The companies had to bridge significant cultural and linguistic gap between French, Japanese, and German business practices. A clear communication and cultural sensitivity were key to overcoming these differences. The second one is strategic alignment and trust. Renault Nissan sought access to Daimler premium technology, while Daimler wanted affordable car solution. The success of the partnership was built on trust, transparency, and aligned long-term goals, leading to beneficial joint ventures. Okay, now we move on into chapter 16, working with international teams. Before we get into the material, here is the table of content for the material that will be talked about. The first one is introduction, second one is team in organization, the third is team tasks and processes, the fourth is the management of the multicultural teams, and the last one is the case study. Moving on into the introduction, chapter 16 focus on the dynamics of international teams in modern organization. With the rest of the global teams, companies face the challenge of uniting individuals from diverse cultural background, each bringing unique perspective and work style. This chapter delves into the types of teams commonly found in organization and the challenge multicultural teams encounter and strategies for fostering trust and collaborating across cultures. Moving on to teams in organization. A team is a small group of individuals who work together towards a common purpose, collectively accountable for the action. This definition has evolved in modern organization to include global network of specialists communicating digitally. According to Robbins, there are four primary types of teams. There are problem-solving teams that propose improvement, self-management teams that operate without supervisor, cross-functional teams collaborating across departments, and virtual teams connecting members from different organizations. However, multicultural teams face unique challenges, particularly in establishing trust, which is essential for effective teamwork and varies across culture. Each team member fulfill both a professional role based on their expertise and an interpersonal role reflecting their individual style. Bilbin's model highlights the importance of balanced representation of role for optimal performance, noting that background can influence role preference. In global management, team composed of managers from diverse countries must balance a global perspective with local market needs. Ultimately, effectively teamwork in the international context requires an understanding of cultural differences and the ability to foster trust and cooperating among team members. Okay, moving on into team tasks and processes. The dynamics of group behavior focus on the roles and contribution of team members, highlighting that group collective properties often exceed to the sum of each individual. While individual behavior influence team interaction, they are also shaped by group dynamics. Cultural differences significantly impact organizational expectation for group operation, affecting both strategies such as planning and decision-making, and process-oriented aspects like communication and conflict management. For instance, Adler and Gansen note that task-oriented culture prioritize efficiency, while relationship-oriented cultures like Latin America and Southern Europe emphasize personal connection, complicating relation building in multicultural teams. Global teams face the complex challenge of achieving objective and categorized by Gluesing and Gibson in 2004 into task, context, people, time, and technology. The interplay of these elements requires cross-cultural competence and adaptability alongside professional expertise. Essential aspects of team dynamics include the relationship between the task and social processes, while effective teamwork relies on mutual trust and coordination mechanisms such as meeting to facilitate collaboration. Although diverse perspectives can enhance performance, they may also lead to conflict if not managed properly, underscoring the importance of navigating this dynamic for successful team interaction. Okay, moving on into the last material, the management of multicultural teams. Xavier emphasized that effective cultural management is vital for teams composed of diverse cultural members, particularly in transnational companies amid globalization. These teams often face intercultural challenges, which Xavier addresses with four strategies. The first one is promoting openness among team members. The second one is enhancing interpersonal relationship, leveraging international cooperation cultures, and implementing coaching processes for building intercultural synergies. Management approach may vary. While some leaders rely on professional culture for cohesion, others focus on communication and cultural norms. Xavier notes that harmonious multicultural teams often share equal status and aligned interests. Despite potential conflict, such teams can be highly creative as other and Gunderson suggests. Additionally, Mutabazi and Deer also highlight the dynamic in Afro-Western team, where Western team ideals can overshadow local perspective. A true integration requires time for members to cultivate a genuine team spirit and shared objective, which is essential for effective teamwork and conflict management. Moving on into the study case, it is about IBM's global team collaboration. IBM's Global Service Division faced the challenge of developing a software platform through collaboration between international teams from India, Germany, and the United States. This involved managing differences in cultural approaches, communication, and time zone. The key factor in this case of collaboration, the first one, is cultural diversity. The teams from different countries brought a unique working style. For example, Indian teams value hierarchy and formal communication, while American teams focus on efficiency and German teams emphasize precision. IBM also implemented cultural awareness training to bridge these differences and foster effective collaboration. The second one is time zone and communication. Managing time zone differences between continents require flexible work schedule and regular video conferences at convenient time for all team members. And the next one is collaboration tools such as Slack and WebEx help maintain continuous communication and project updates. The third key factor is clear role definition and leadership. Each team member was clearly defined to avoid confusion. Leaders play a key role in facilitating discussion, ensuring inclusivity, and managing cross-cultural differences. And then there's an outcome from this case is that despite the challenge, the team successfully developed and launched the software platform, meeting the client global needs. IBM also improved its international collaboration processes, making it more adept at managing global teams. Okay, maybe that is all the explanation about chapter 15 and 16 for me. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm sorry if I make any mistake or incorrect explanation. Thank you so much again for your time. Goodbye everyone.